Hello, my name's Mike. I'm a tour guide with Vaughn Southwest Custom Tours here in Arizona. We're at the Grand Canyon of the Colorado. This whole area hasn't been part of the United States for very long. Before it became part of the United States, it was a portion of a young country called Mexico. The Mexican-American War breaks out in 1846. The Mexican Army, 5 times larger than the U.S. Army when it breaks out. But the United States had this dream that it was supposed to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific. We called it Manifest Destiny. Well, there was a big factor that a lot of Americans don't consider when they think about the Mexican-American War. There is something that happened across the pond that had a huge effect on the outcome of the Mexican-American War. The Great Potato Blight of Ireland. You see, in 1846, more than 2 million Irishmen came flooding across the port of entry in New York. The next largest port of entry of the United States in 1846 was New Orleans. Another 1 million Irishmen came through at New Orleans. These guys had been ravished by famine. They had traded everything they owned for passage over. Many of them came over indentured. They were poor, they were dressed in rags. They were hungry, both physically, literally and physically. When they stepped off the boat, they had recruiters from the U.S. military just waiting for them. They had a good package to offer them. A guaranteed job for the next 2 years. A brand new suit of clothes called a uniform. But the clincher was a weapon, a rifle, that they got to keep even after their service was over. The vast majority of them signed up for service in the United States military. And the United States military's ranks swelled in 1846 on the backs of the Irishmen coming across from the Blight. The Mexican-American War was the first, in many ways, in U.S. military history. First time we do a naval blockade of a foreign country. First time we do an amphibious landing on a foreign shore. First time we invade a foreign country. First time we capture and occupy a foreign capital. Probably wouldn't have gone that well if it weren't for the Irish. The Mexican-American War only lasted 2 years. But truth be told, it probably only would have lasted 1. There was a small detachment of these Irishmen who had signed up for service in the U.S. military that once they got in the field, once they got to fighting, they realized that something was amiss. One of the reasons they left Ireland was because of the subjugation by Protestants. Being good Catholics, they found themselves fighting fellow Catholics, and this didn't sit well with many of them. So much so that some even traded sides, leaving the American army and fighting for the Mexicans. Their efforts were concentrated down in Mexico City, and truth be told, Mexico City probably would have fell 6 months before it did if it weren't for the small group of Irishmen who in Mexican history are known as the San Patricios, and they are very well honored in Mexico today. They knew that if they were to be captured, that they would be killed as traitors, either hung or shot. So they had no choice but to fight to the death. And they really shored up the Mexican defenses in Mexico City and kept the fight going much longer than it otherwise would have. They are well remembered in Mexico. There is a whole community down in central Mexico, in Mexico City, of red-haired, green-eyed Mexicans, and they are the descendants of the San Patricios.